ancient Egypt has steadily grown. There have been countless astonishing discoveries, but 10 of them lay claim to the very highest order of importance. Each of these 10 great discoveries is a treasure in its own right, but they also offer entry into one of the most extraordinary civilizations our world has ever seen.
These discoveries are really doorways into the past, and they permit us to see how the ancient Egyptians lived, how they thought, what they did.
Objects found decades, even centuries ago, still raise questions that have to be decoded. For instance, how did these colorful inscriptions turn a simple tomb into a powerhouse of resurrection?
The scenes themselves and the words inscribed on the walls of these.
What lay behind the waves of violence that desecrated Egypt's most beautiful tombs?
It definitely was organized crime. Well-structured, organized groups of men.
The Egyptians built on a scale that wouldn't be equaled for thousands of years. But how did they do it?
No one is entirely sure how people, using very simple tools and a lot of sweat, managed to construct such an astonishing monument.
Across 30 centuries, Egypt survived repeated invasions, outlasting its most bitter rivals.
The Egyptians had such a strong sense of culture, such a long history, that really they changed the invaders more than the invaders changed them.
Dr. Zahi Hawass is the highest-ranking archaeologist in Egypt today, and is the official guardian of all Egyptian antiquities. He will be our guide as we travel the length of the country to explore Egyptology's 10 greatest discoveries.
We are taking you in an adventure that you will never forget in your life.
The first stop on our journey is an ingenious piece of technology, one that was key to Egypt reaching its zenith.
This discovery was a miracle. It shows the skills of the Egyptians.
And remarkably, this technological breakthrough is locked inside a boat. Over 4,500 years ago, the pharaoh Khufu ordered the construction of the Great Pyramid on the Giza Plateau. What he buried beneath it is, in its own way, every bit as impressive as the pyramid itself.
The amazing thing about this discovery, it is how the Egyptians, 4,600 years ago, constructed this incredible boat.
The Khufu ship is the most extraordinary artifact in the world. 13 stories tall, if you stand it on its end, 1,200 parts, and held together with little pieces of wood and a kind of sewing.
Over the years, the site at Giza had been excavated many times, but the Khufu ship had never been discovered.
The discovery happened by accident completely. Many of the major discoveries always come with luck.
It was 1952. Archaeologist Kamal al-Malak was supervising the cleanup of an area near the Great Pyramid.
This south of the pyramid was completely covered with debris and stone rubble. Then they began to clean the stone rubble.
As they were clearing, they found these large slabs of limestone that were very carefully laid.
Curious, al-Malak bored a small hole through one of the slabs.
When this man came and looked inside, he said to me, "I did smell history."
He discovered 41 huge limestone blocks, each weighing between 17 and 20 tons. They covered a deep pit over 30 meters long. But it was the contents of the pit that excited Egyptologists.
It was this huge pile of wood and rope and oars which gave the game away.
It was a ship, but it begged a tantalizing question. Why would Khufu bury a ship in the middle of a waterless desert?
documentaries, all in one place. Sunday Selection starts Sunday the 25th of October on Discovery World.
From the ancient Egyptian pyramids to modern-day catastrophes, we leave no stone unturned. Every preserved corner is believed to magically act, continuing to explore the wonders of your world. This autumn on Discovery World.
In 1952, archaeologist Kamal El-Malak made a chance discovery. A huge boat next to the Great Pyramid of Giza. What he didn't know at first was what it was doing there. The answer lies in how the Egyptians viewed death. The pharaoh believed the pyramid would hold his mortal remains, but that his soul would leave for the afterlife.
Khufu was a king and a god. So when he died, he became one with the sun god.
Having ascended to the heavens, the pharaoh would accompany Ra, the sun god, on his daily journey across the sky. They would be carried in a great boat.
The idea of doing that made perfect sense to the Egyptians because they saw the path of the boat as being not flying through the sky, but rather traveling on the rivers that surrounded their whole entire world.
In the Egyptian mind, this boat had another clear, practical purpose. It would be used for daily transportation in the afterlife. The Khufu boat was intended to carry its master through the heavens. But its place in the burial ceremony also reflects the significance of boats and water to Egyptian life.
The Khufu boat is a fabulous testament to the importance of the Nile to the ancient Egyptians.
Boats meant the Nile, and in one sense, the Nile was Egypt.
Egyptians relied on the Nile for food, for water, for irrigation, but most of all they relied on the Nile to move them from place to place.
The Nile brought wealth and nourished their civilization, linking Upper and Lower Egypt and bringing vital trade from the outside world.
The Nile was the most important thing for the Egyptians to make this civilization, and that's why we can say that with the Egyptians, the Nile built ancient Egypt.
The hard granite used to build Egypt's finest monuments traveled hundreds of kilometers by river from Aswan. Gold and jewels were brought from Nubia, and pharaohs sent trading expeditions to the land of Punt, thousands of kilometers to the south. Maritime trade poured vast resources into the country and allowed the pharaohs of Egypt to build an empire. The importance of boats and ships in ancient Egypt is clear from wall art found throughout the country. But these depictions don't tell us much about the techniques they used to build such massive vessels. For archaeologists, the discovery of this perfectly preserved boat is like finding a time capsule.
It looked as if the edges of these timbers had just come out of the shipyard and that not a second had passed over the next 4,500 years.
Each of the hull's 1,200 pieces was carved by hand.
You have this very complex interlocking jigsaw of the planks themselves. Each piece fit individually and particularly into the piece that was above it, below it, to the ends of it.